Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and I have been teaching Yin Yoga for a bit now, and I'm excited for you to join me in this moment on your mat. Go ahead and grab yourself a mat, or at least a easy place for you to be able to lie down and stand up a little bit for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, moving through several breathing and physical movement exercises. As you find yourself a space to be, gather any yoga props that you use, such as a bolster or blocks or an eye pillow. Or if yoga props are not something you currently have around you, gather a few pillows off of your bed or your couch and add a blanket underneath where your knees will be, as we will have a few hands on our knees and knees on the ground poses. Yin Yoga is a practice of moving intentionally through different movements without necessarily expecting any level of flexibility, physical fitness, or any of the things that you have as preconceived notions about what yoga might be. Those don't apply here. Any version of the pose is the pose. And if you've taken a class with me before, you've often heard me say that phrase, as well as noticing that when we find ourselves in two-sided poses, one side might be very different than the other. That's because your body isn't as symmetrical as maybe you would think or hope or expect, or Instagram could lead you to believe. We each live our days and our lives moving through the motions of what we're expected to do. Some of those motions allow different parts of our body to be strained or stressed in different ways than others. Sometimes that varies day to day, hour to hour, or season to season. As you find yourself moving through postures tonight that include two sides, please remember not to judge yourself, not to have expectations that are unreasonable for yourself, and also not to push yourself to a sense of pain. Throughout Yin Yoga, I instruct classes to kind of ride the wave of sensation. And what I mean by that is, if you were to rate sensation on a scale of 0, meaning exactly maybe how you feel right now, where nothing's exacerbated, nothing's stretched too much, you're just kind of here, to a scale of pain, if we wanted to give pain the number 10. We never want to get to pain. We never want to experience pain, and we never want to cause ourselves pain just for this purpose of growing. We might want to cause ourselves to move into sensation, to notice discomfort, and to notice what it can be like to sit with discomfort and ask it what it has to teach us. So find yourself maybe at about a 6, where 6 is sensation. Maybe you're looking to move a little bit deeper, so you move into a 7, but never really move yourself past there, because then you're bordering on the edge of pain, strain, and pushing yourself for the sake of pushing yourself, rather than sitting at that growth edge. So go ahead and find yourself in a comfortable seat, or lying down if you haven't already.
Let's just start seated for as long as we feel like being seated before we move down onto our back. In whatever seat makes sense to you. Um, I have been noticing a lot of neck and shoulder tension and kind of having my shoulders up in my ears the last few days. And so I want to start our practice tonight just kind of like noticing how we're seated. And then if it feels comfortable, take your hands off of your lap and sit them on the mat next to you so that you intentionally move your shoulders from holding them up if you were accidentally. And so as you find your hands on the mat next to you, you can have fingertips, palms, whatever makes sense to you. Just begin to kind of just shift side to side ever so slowly and feel as if you can imagine yourself kind of like melting into the ground a little bit more. And as you're doing that, if your eyes aren't already closed, go ahead and close them. And just use the next couple minutes before we move into our first posture, just coming into your body fully, outside of any pain or discomfort that you felt today, if possible. So try and take a deep breath in through your nose and imagine that you can fill up your belly or your back or wherever that breath goes to. Just picture that part of your body expanding with the fullness of an inhale breath. And then if you need an open mouth exhale, go ahead and just take one to just settle yourself in. And then just continue breathing in and out your nose as you find yourself settling. And whenever it feels ready, if it feels ready for you, just drop one ear towards one shoulder. I'm going to be dropping my right ear towards my right shoulder first, noticing that my left shoulder is trying to come with it. And if you experience that, just try and pay attention to the fingertips on the mat opposite the shoulder that your ear is dropped towards. And if you want to add a little bit of a stretch to this, or maybe your body is just doing that because of its day, maybe you walk your fingertips out a little bit. Notice that stretch along the left side of your neck if your right ear is dropped towards your right shoulder. And just spend some breaths here. As always, you can look down towards your shoulder or up towards the ceiling if you want. We're just paying attention to what our neck feels like. Paying attention to imagining that there's a line all the way down from our ear to our fingertips. And that we can just send any uncomfortable sensation down our head, out our fingertips, and just dust it off. If only it were that simple. And when you feel like you've gotten enough on this side, use the inhale breath to bring your head back up to center, being really careful to come as slowly as you need to. And then in the center, just take a breath or two, fully inhale and exhale before you drop your ear to your other shoulder. I'm going to drop my left ear to my left shoulder this time, walking my right fingertips out a little bit. Noticing any props or pets that are in the way. And just focus this time on the opposite side of your neck. Just being aware of how it feels, not necessarily asking it to change. Maybe becoming aware of if it feels differently than you expected or differently than the last time you did this. And then when you're ready, just tuck your chin into your chest and drop your chin down, kind of rolling your neck to basically where your chin is just pointed down and your head is just draped forward. This would be the position that if you had inhaled up to the center and then just dropped your head forward, you would be in. But you don't have to come back up to center to come here. So just have your chin tucked in and your head kind of looking down towards your belly if your eyes were open. You should feel sensation across the back of your neck, maybe both sides of your neck, maybe even down into your upper back. Sometimes we have our chin tucked a little bit and our head dropped a little bit to focus on a screen or reading a book. It's not often that we just fully let our head drop forward, let the weight of it sink, and just feel into the back of our neck. And maybe you want to just trace your chin side to side, see if that adds any sense of release. If it doesn't, no need to do that. I'm not trying to get any additional energy moving tonight, I'm just trying to let something go. And when you feel like you've gotten enough from that, tuck your chin back in and slowly bring your head back up to neutral. And here in neutral, if you want to do anything else with your neck, feel free. Maybe you want to drop your head back, maybe you don't. But just take a breath or two and notice how you feel. And ask yourself what you are looking for from tonight's practice. Maybe you'll be able to find it. Maybe you'll just be looking for it. But either way, thank yourself for taking the time to intentionally take a break and intentionally do something in the interests of your body, your health, and just in the interest of sharing space towards moving forward through all the things that are on our path. And we're going to come to the first pose I have for us, which will be reclined bound angle, which is basically just lying back across our bolster up the length of our spine. And so go ahead and grab your bolster and sit it long ways on your mat. And then shift so that your lower back and hips are against it. You can choose to have your legs stretched out forward or in butterfly or in some other shape that makes sense to you. I'm going to have mine in butterfly. And then using your next breath, go ahead and place your hands on either side. Walk your upper body backwards and just allow your whole back to sink onto the bolster. Maybe you want to adjust your legs as you find your way back. And choose somewhere that you would like your hands to be. Maybe you want to have them on your body. Maybe you want to have them stretched out to the side. But just allow yourself to fully melt into everything that's supporting you. And see if tonight you can work with a visual, if you need one, of letting tension drip off of your body. And so as you find yourself lying back here, you might imagine that any sort of tension or sensation can just melt off of you, down the sides of the bolster, through the mat, and into the ground. It's a completely illogical visualization, but just see if you can let something go with each exhale breath. Or that you can become just a little bit heavier onto that prop, letting it fully support you and hold everything for you. And as we come to our practice tonight on March 9th of 2022, we find ourselves just a few days shy of the 2-year anniversary of when we first began to officially recognize that a lot of things were about to change in ways we couldn't predict, inside of ourselves, outside of ourselves, around us. And a lot of new anxiety began swirling and continued swirling and continues to impact us even today. And so tonight, as we move through these postures, as we take deep breaths in, long exhales out, just take stock of how far you've come from the moments over the last 2 years that you weren't sure where they would go. Maybe those moments feel really, really recent. But take stock of just noticing that every single one of those moments is in the past. We have no idea what the future holds, but we've made it through a lot of hard things. We've made it through a lot of things we weren't sure how they were going to go. And we've chosen to take time to be here, to breathe, and to be mindful of how our bodies are feeling, and ask them to just create a little bit more ease, let go of a little bit more tension, and just rest. So take this rest. Let all of that be what it is, what it was, and what it will be. And just fully allow yourself to rest tonight. Coming back to your breath whenever you need a little bit more focus. And wherever you are, go ahead and if your legs are in butterfly, begin to kind of fold your knees in so that your feet can fold flat onto the floor and your knees will point up towards the ceiling. And then with the soles of your feet on the floor, maybe widen them a little bit. And just kind of windshield wiper your knees side to side, noticing how this feels in your lower back. If it's uncomfortable, just stay still for a moment. And then roll yourself off to one side, just enough to shift your bolster off to the side and lie fully on your back in the same position with your knees up towards the ceiling. Maybe continuing that windshield wiper motion with them. And allowing your spine to just fully be flat on the back. And then making those windshield wipers a little more exaggerated if you'd like, maybe lingering with one knee dropped down towards the center and one knee to the side a little bit more, making sure to balance that out and try and do to both sides. We'll get into a twist later in the practice, but I like to do these early on just to notice what it feels like to move while lying down. And then curl your knees into your chest, wrapping your palms around your knees or your shins. And take a happy baby if you'd like, grabbing onto the outside of your feet. Just feeling a little bit of sensation of opening in our hips. We won't be doing as deep of hip openers tonight, just in the interest of not stirring up anything extra. But happy baby can be a really relaxing, restorative posture. I like to just have this idea that I'm holding on to myself while also stretching. Maybe you want to stretch out one leg at a time to add in a hamstring stretch, or just have a little fun. Maybe you don't. Then curl your knees back in when you feel ready. Take as long as you need. And just continue to rock side to side. And then when you feel complete, stretch your legs out long. And we're gonna do a back, lying on our back side stretch of banana. And so you can choose which side you would like to go to first. But with your legs stretched out in front of you, go ahead and just raise your arms up over your head if they aren't already. And take an inhale breath and see if you can stretch yourself really, really long. I call this lightsaber pose. I don't know a ton about Star Wars, but it seems cool to imagine. And just continue stretching, feeling stretch from your fingertips to your toes. And then on an exhale, open mouth or otherwise, just let everything sink. No need to stretch anything out. And go ahead and decide which side you would like to stretch first. I'm going to be stretching my right side first. So I'm going to lift up my left leg, move it to the edge of my mat, lift up my right leg and follow it. Immediately, I notice a stretch along my right hip, my IT band. But to add a little bit more, you can cross one ankle over the other. And then do the same thing with your arms. Move your left arm to the left side of your mat, followed by your right. And you can grab your left wrist with your right hand, moving to that side. And just see if you can keep your chest pointed up to the ceiling versus tilting over or closing. And just hang out here, lying on your back, breathing in and feeling the expansion along the side body. Maybe switching which ankle is crossed on top of which if you're deciding this doesn't work for you. or just leaving them side by side. And just settle in, close your eyes, and just be here resting. Intentionally taking the time to do something in the interest of you. Over the last few days, I've noticed my breaths become much more shallow throughout the day. I've been much more exhausted in the evenings. I imagine they're related. And so coming to this practice reminds me of the power of just taking time to breathe deeply, even if you don't feel like doing so, to just attempt to create some calm amidst the storm. So continue doing that. Continue letting yourself melt into the mat and just be here. And as we stay here for a couple more minutes, paying attention to what it's like to rest while also intentionally being in a specific pose. If we experience anxiety throughout our day, our life, this is always an option to just put yourself in a physical position, set yourself a timer, and see how things feel after that. Maybe they're better, maybe they're not. Hopefully they're not worse. Just take that time to come into your body and breathe. Taking another breath or so on this side, imagining yourself moving back to the center and taking that lightsaber pose. And then uncrossing your ankles if you have them crossed, letting go of your wrists if you have it grasped. And just one at a time, move your arm back to the center, then the other arm. Lift up your leg and move it back to the center, followed by the other leg. And just find yourself back in neutral. Maybe you want to do that lightsaber pose again, stretching toes to fingertips, imagining yourself as long as you possibly can, lengthening out your spine. And then on an exhale, settling back down. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to be moving my right leg to the right side of my mat this time, followed by my left. And then crossing one ankle over the other to add in more of a hip stretch or an IT band stretch. And then moving my right arm, followed by the left, grabbing onto my wrist as I like to. And just feeling a sense of opening across the left side of my body this time. And maybe opening isn't what you're looking for, but use the next couple breaths to make any adjustments you'd like. And we'll be here for 5 minutes, breathing, resting. Remembering on your inhale breath, to lose focus, to pay attention to what it feels like to expand and stretch out that side body. And then on your exhale, where can you melt into the ground a little bit more? Or can you let any tension drip off of you into the mat and leave it be? We're about halfway through this side. Being mindful throughout tonight's practice. If you experience yawning, take that as a compliment to yourself. Your nervous system is relaxing. Your body's unwinding from the stress it experienced throughout the day and moving more into a place of rest. You have your ankles crossed, go ahead and uncross them. If you're grasping one wrist, go ahead and let it go. And over your next few breaths, move your arms back to center. Move your legs back to center. And just pay attention to what it's like to have done that stretch. Maybe you windshield wiper your ankles side to side. And maybe you just pause. In our first transition, what we're going to do is just roll over onto your belly. I'm going to be flipping around on my mat, but you don't need to do that. I'm only doing that for myself. So just roll yourself over and come from lying face up to lying face down. Have your bolster nearby, but you don't need it right away. And as you find yourself lying face down, we are going to come into Crocodile Pose, just the first way I was ever taught it, and see how that feels. And so the way I was taught this is to just kind of bring your arms, kind of your elbows are out to the sides of your mat, palms are stacked on top of each other. And then you just plant your forehead down flat onto the top of one of your palms. If you'd like to plant one side of your face down, we can let you know when we're halfway through so that you can adjust that for some symmetry with your neck. But just lie here face down. If you're feeling restless, maybe you want to bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs side to side. There's no need to do that. It's only if you feel like something needs to be released or let go, or your lower back is asking for it. But just be here. And this time, as we shifted from face up to face down, stick with that idea of seeing if things can just strip and melt off of you. Maybe as you exhale, you literally breathe down into the mat and let something go. If you have one side of your face on your hands, or you'd like to switch which hand is on top, go ahead and make that change. We'll be here for the second half of resting face down. Coming back to your breath anytime that you find yourself paying attention to other sensations, observing things that make your breath more shallow. Just take a deeper one on the next one and see if that brings you back into this moment. As we take our last few breaths here, maybe you want to try bending your knees and curling your feet in towards your glutes and wiggling side to side to see what that feels like. If you'd like to check that out. Or maybe you continue resting as you are. For our next set of poses, we're not going to make too many adjustments from where we are right here, but we are going to add in an optional hip stretch of, I think it would be called one-legged frog. And so from where you are, what you're going to do is just choose one leg. I'm going to start with my right leg and just bend that knee and kind of bend it out to the side so that your shin is parallel the edge of your mat. Maybe this is a position that you sleep in sometimes at rest, but your knee is kind of coming out at a 90-degree angle. I guess that would be from your hip. If that feels okay for you, go ahead and stay there. If you want to add any props around you, make that adjustment. And then just lie your head back down. Maybe this time you want to lie one cheek on your hands and kind of face your nose towards your knee, or maybe not. We'll just be on each side of this for about 3 minutes or so. Just getting a little bit of a stretch through our hips, our lower back. Taking a deep breath whenever you need to. And then on one of your next breaths, just go ahead and slowly bring that knee back down. Maybe you take your time, take a couple breaths to straighten that leg back out. And then I like to pitter patter my toes just to feel the full length of my leg on the ground before moving into the other side. So this time I'm going to be hiking up my left leg so that my knee comes right out of my hip to the side. My shin is parallel to the side of my mat, forming kind of a 90-degree angle with my knee. And letting one side of your face rest on your hands if you would like. You can always do this with your elbows planted and kind of in more of a sphinx pose for your upper body if you're looking for that. But tonight I'll just be resting. I'm going ahead and preparing to move out of this. When you're ready, lifting up your left leg and straightening it back out behind you. Maybe rocking your hips side to side or just lying flat. Windshield wipering your whole lower body a little bit. Just let anything settle back in. And where we're going next is I'm going to guide us through up to tabletop, through through cat cow if you'd like, but into thread the needle. And after that, we'll be in child's pose. And so if you want to go ahead and just shift yourself into a very extended child's pose, maybe even a restorative one with your bolster, feel free. But if you'd like to try thread the needle, I'm gonna place my hands flat down on the mat and press them in to come up to a tabletop position. Noticing what it's like to have my midsection off the mat for the first time tonight since we were seated. And just sway to side a little bit, feeling into this new pose. Flow through 3 cat cows. Inhale and drop the belly and look up. Exhale, press into the mat. Arch the spine. And do this twice more just to feel into what my spine's experiencing. And one more inhale. And exhale. And so for thread the needle, I'm going to start with my left hand planted. Take an inhale breath, open up my right arm up to the ceiling, coming into somewhat of a twist. And then thread my right arm underneath my left, my hips still up high towards the ceiling. allowing the right side of my face to rest down on the mat. I'll just be here for 3 minutes on each side. This is the most active posture of tonight's practice, but my shoulders were needing a little stretch, so I wanted to add it in. Just continue resting wherever you are if you're not looking for an active stretch. And know that after this posture, we'll be headed to child's pose. So make your way there whenever you're ready, in whatever way makes sense for you. If you are in thread the needle, try and kind of keep your hips towards the center rather than off to one side to increase the stretch, and just focus on that midline balance. Feeling an opening across your right shoulder with your right arm threaded through. You can make adjustments with your left arm if you'd like. I've just got mine planted on the mat. Feeling what an inhale breath feels like across your upper back as it's experiencing opening and compression simultaneously, similar to how our hips might feel in pigeon pose. Let's get out of this pose and transition back to the center on the way to the other side. Just gonna bring my left hand next to my face, press it down, slowly unthread that needle back up to the sky, getting a little bit of a twist, and then plant it down on the mat and flow through a couple cat cows as you need before we get ready for the other side. Might notice one side feels more stretched out or open, whatever word you prefer to use, just different from the other side. It's fun to notice what simply moving can do for us. And then when you're ready from a neutral place, this time my right hand is planted, inhaling my left arm up to the sky, and exhale, threading it through. So that the left side of my face comes down to the mat this time. Shifting my hips back to center and letting myself settle in here. And as always in two-sided poses, I've heard me say this before, but I'll continue to say it. Each side is different, even if they look the same. So let your body have what it needs. Don't force it in any way. Certainly don't push yourself to a sense of pain. Always welcome in, again, practice to explore sensation. We're not looking to create pain. Sometimes we're not even looking for sensation, we're just looking for rest. So take what you need. Only you know what that is. And let yourself be there. And let yourself receive and be supported by the props, by the mat, and by your breath. Most importantly, by you. in a world constantly asking for things from us. Give yourself this time. You're in a super sensational posture, noticing that your heart rate is rising, your breath is becoming shallow. Try counting the inhale and the exhale and seeing if you can make the exhale 1 or 2 counts longer than the inhale. Just encourage yourself to just sit and be. This works with anxiety as well. And any other time you're needing a little bit more calm. Mindfully paying attention to our breath. One of the fastest ways available to us in almost any circumstance to create that. And so coming out of this, I'll press my right hand on the mat by my face and thread my left arm back up to the sky and bring it back down. You can flow through as many cat-cows as your body needs. And then, as I mentioned, we'll be coming into child's pose. I'm going to be coming into a wide-legged restorative child's pose with my bolster between my knees, between my thighs, to just allow my upper body to fully rest and release. And so grabbing that bolster, placing it between your knees, placing your knees out wide to the sides of your mat, like. I'm just adjusting it anyway. Maybe you want to prop it up with a block so you can wrap your arms around it. And just take an exhale breath, walk yourself forward, lie yourself down, maybe grab a blanket or anything to put over you if you haven't already. We'll be here for 6 minutes, so I'll let you know when we're halfway through if you'd like to place one side of your face down so that you can switch. And after this, we'll move into our twist and into Shavasana. And then into the rest of our evening, hopefully full of some rest. Using one of your next breaths to flip which side of the face is down if you'd like to make that change. If you had one side down, it's good to try and be symmetrical. So when you're ready, shift to where the other side is down. Make any adjustments that you need and settle back in. Just let yourself fully receive, bolster, and let everything else melt away. And let yourself be held. Let your breath deepen, your heart rate slow, and your nerves unwind. And then coming into your final breaths with this posture, take another deep one if you need to. And then lift your head back up so that it comes back to neutral, maybe with your forehead or your chin on the bolster. Where we're going from here is back onto our back for a twist. And then Shavasana. You're welcome to stay here longer if you'd like to, and transition to Shavasana when you're ready. But to move on, press your palms down into your mat. Walk your hands towards your body. Come up. You might want to set your bolster to the side. You can always put it under your knees in Shavasana for a little bit of an extra release in your lower back. If you'd like to join for a twist, where we're going is just finding our own way back down onto our back. I like to come down and curl my knees into my chest once more. And rock side to side. Noticing what my spine feels like after a couple movements. Maybe it feels a little more stretched out. Maybe I'm more aware of some parts that it doesn't feel stretched out in. Just shifting as I adjust to face up again. And then planting the soles of my feet down, knees up towards the ceiling, windshield wipering a little bit more, letting my feet adjust to being back on the mat. And then I'm going to start with my left leg planted, lift up my right and cross it over to come into an eagle leg version of this twist. Don't have to take that. You can definitely just drop your knees to the left side. But this adds a bit of sensation for me that I enjoy. And so with my legs crossed over, I'm gonna let them drop over to the left side of my mat, trying to keep my chest pointed up towards the ceiling. Maybe you want to add a prop to catch your knees for comfort, for necessity. But just let your knees drop over to the left, whether they be crossed or simply stacked on top of one another. And come into this twist. It's the first side of our final posture before Shavasana. Allow your head to look in whichever direction you'd like, or just straight up towards the ceiling with your eyes closed. See if we can come back to that metaphor of letting things drip off of us. And imagine that this twist is wringing anything else out, as if we're wringing out a wet cloth. Getting ready for it to just be complete with the task it was there for. See if an exhale breath can let your twist deepen or soften in any way. We're about halfway through this side, so if there's anything else you'd like to adjust, make that adjustment and settle back in. If you have your legs crossed, go ahead and uncross them and just leave them stacked over to the side. Then use an inhale breath. Inhale your knees up to center. Soles of the feet planted on the mat. Shift your hips back to the middle if they shifted to the side. And just rock side to side as you need, or curl your knees in as you want. Just come back to neutral momentarily. before we move to the other side. When you're ready, if you're crossing your legs, leave your right leg planted, lift up your left and cross it over. You shift your hips a little bit to the left so your legs can stay on the mat as you drop your knees over to the right. Again, allowing any props that you'd like to catch your knees. My hips are a little tight tonight, so I'm going to let my knees fall into my bolster. And just have your chest pointed up towards the ceiling. Look in any direction that feels good for your neck. And settle in for the next few minutes into the supine eagle leg twist. Final pose before Shavasana. Noticing belly rise and fall. Maybe you place your hands there as you inhale and exhale. Feeling the fullness, feeling the weight, and just being held. If you'd like to adjust anything, please do so. And then let your exhale melt you back in. If your knees are stacked or crossed, go ahead and uncross them and just leave them stacked over to the side. Our final little bit of time in this twist. And use an inhale breath. Guide your knees back up to the center, unwinding carefully. Shifting your hips back to the middle, doing whatever your body needs to reset. And then gathering any additional props or pillows or clothing articles that you'd like to add to yourself for Shavasana. We'll be here for 5 minutes. Maybe you want to place a bolster under your knees or somewhere else around or under your body. Just get yourself as comfy as you possibly can be. And then try and get yourself a little bit comfier than that. And settle yourself in. No need to breathe in any specific way, move in any specific way, or ask anything at all of your body. Just rest and receive even more than you already have. And we'll join back up in 5 minutes. If you ever find yourself distracted in Shavasana, just come back to your breath. And if you're content, just be where you are. Shavasana is the practice of integrating and letting everything sink and soak in fully. No effort, no expectation, just completely letting everything be for a little bit more time before we have to do again. And begin to come back into feeling your body. Maybe wiggling your toes, curling them in, letting them go. And doing the same with your fingers. Maybe you roll your ankles side to side. And twirl your wrists in circles. Rock your head side to side on the mat. Maybe you stretch. If you'd like to join me for a final breath, I'm seated. Make your way there in whatever fashion and whatever speed you would like. I'll lift my feet up off my bolster, curl my knees in and roll to one side. And then wedge one hand out, press it down into the mat. Lift myself up. Coming into a seat, keeping your eyes closed as you'd like. And place your hands anywhere that feels meaningful to you, together, apart. And just take one final breath together. Inhaling through your nose. And an open mouth exhale. Seeing if there's anything else you'd like to release. Any physical sensation you want to be rid of. Imagining it going away with that exhale breath. Coming back again to a sense of gratitude for yourself. Prioritizing this time for you. I appreciate you sharing it with me. And I hope you have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you for taking a class with me, taking this time for you, and being a part of my online offering of free yin and restorative yoga to anyone who needs a break. As per usual, since this is YouTube, I'm here to ask you to subscribe, like, and share this video with anyone you think who might enjoy the same break that you just took. And if you would like to financially support these offerings, feel free to check out the description or visit my website, unbrokencircles.com, and you can see various ways to support me through Venmo, PayPal, or sharing the offerings that I put out with others who might need them. Thank you for taking this time. I love offering this to you, to anyone who needs it, and I'm grateful that you took this time to be with yourself, with me, and I hope to see you again. Please feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions. Have a great day.